This is a spoiler warning. You're welcome.
Every time I'm in the street, I hit man down. Where you from? Who you know? Where you from?
We all love iCarly. So today, I'm going to talk about the episodes. More specifically, the top 10 best episodes with my good friend Rushaan SBSP, and tell you why iCarly is amazing. Now, I'm going to include specials and TV movies on this list because I wanted this list to be as inclusive as possible. So without further ado, let's head into the top 10.
I'm telling you just how I feel. So wake up, the members of my nation. It's your time to be. There's no chance unless you take one.
Coming in at number 10 is an episode that I believe I've watched the most out of all of these on the list. This episode is called I Still Psycho. So this episode is fantastic. I mean, there is no other word to it. It's a fantastic episode. No, it's really not. This is not an amazing episode, but my god, it is so entertaining. And I wanted to put this one on the list so badly because I've watched this episode so many times. But I was able to get it in at number 10, so I am kind of happy, but it should really be number 1. So, this is the episode that includes Nora. Now, if you don't know who Nora is, she's basically that psycho chick who bribes iCarly into coming to her house for a party and basically kidnaps them and tortures them. This is the sequel to the first one. So this is the one with Miss Benson, Tebow, riding in on the motorcycle, which is just amazing. This is the one with Spencer on the wheel. Gibby is not going to be a factor because he's stuck in the chimney. We got to see more of Nora's family. And overall, it's just a funny episode, surprisingly. Obviously, a very insane episode, a very crazy episode. But also so entertaining, so enjoyable. And that's why it had to be on this list. But it can only be number 10.
I'm telling you just how I feel. So wake up, the members of my nation. It's your time to be. There's no chance unless you take one.
And number 9 is I Saved Your Life. This episode was a pretty big deal when it came out because it did something very different. In this episode, Freddy actually saves Carly from a truck. There's also a side story between Spencer and Sam with this whole paintball thing. Yeah, it's a really awesome episode. But also we have the reaction from Mrs. Benson, Freddy's mom, of course, because Carly actually fell in love with Freddy. Honestly, when I first watched this episode, it was actually really weird. Like, I actually didn't like the episode at first, but rewatching it, I actually really like this episode now. I mean, it's something different. We've never seen this before, and it was a very unique way to portray this relationship. Of course, it ended in the last scene, but honestly, it was a really awesome episode, and I totally see it being number 9 on this list.
I'm telling you just how I feel. So wake up, the members of my nation. It's your time to be. There's no chance unless you take one.
Number 8 is one of the more popular episodes of iCarly, I Start a Fan War. So get your fan fictions ready because we get to find out which is the actual ship. Is it Creddy or is it SETI? And it's just so enjoyable. We also get a subplot with Spencer and Jack Black, of all people, and they're just rivaling over these two fan bases about the same topic, which is just hilarious. Jack Black is great in this episode, and overall, it's just a really enjoyable episode. I mean, it's emotional at points. Surprisingly, I actually teared up a little bit. I don't know why. Maybe I was drunk at 15 years old, but that's usual nowadays. Anyways, I just really enjoy this episode. It's an instant classic. If you've seen iCarly, you've probably seen this episode, so it had to be on this list.
I'm telling you just how I feel. So wake up, the members of my nation. It's your time to be. There's no chance unless you take one.
And number 7 is I Spaced Out. This episode was really awesome when it came out because it kind of promoted it like it was a space-themed episode. In this episode, Carly, Sam, and Freddy basically go to the space camp thing, and there's another team there which we don't talk about. Whoever does the best during this space camp thing gets to actually go to space. And of course, they're basically gonna be quarantined in this tiny room to see if they could get along when they're in like a rocket in a real scenario. And of course, it being just them, a lot of stuff happens between Sam and Freddy most of the time. But at the end, Carly kind of just became a savage and literally just broke everything and kind of left. So Carly kind of ruined the whole thing. Honestly, I really love this episode. The humor's great. I love how they changed how like the episode goes. You know, this was very different. We got a new setting, we got new characters, and it was just an all-around really solid episode.
I'm telling you just how I feel. So wake up the members of my nation. It's your time to be. There's no chance unless you take one.
Number 6 is the crossover of the century, the one that we all love, I Party with Victorious. So this is obviously the crossover between the iCarly gang and the Victorious cast, and this is an instant classic. I mean, it's all of these are instant classics, but this one is an instant classic. It's one of the more popular crossovers on Nickelodeon. It's just amazingly well done. I mean, the song is perfect. I've listened to that song. I've listened to the mashup maybe a billion times. It's such a good mashup between the iCarly theme song and the Victorious theme song. It's amazing. And there's also some really good subplots throughout this episode. For example, Beck trying to prove that he's not scared. He doesn't get scared by anything. And he actually doesn't get scared by anything throughout the whole episode, which is great. The subplot with the boyfriend, or the trashy boyfriend that cheats on both Carly and Tori. I don't know why I said it like that. That web show segment, great. Kenan Thompson's here for some reason, but it's amazing. That panda with the tennis racket is amazing. So funny. So funny. Also, Kat is also really good here. She actually gets a few lines without even saying anything. She's also funny as well. Trina babysitting the kids is great. Sam and Jade, seeing those two on screen together and seeing how well they mesh is amazing. I'm actually happy that we did get more of that in Sam and Kat, which maybe I'll do a top 10 on. Probably not, but whatever. This is just a great crossover. It's one of the more famous crossovers for children's TV, or not really children's TV, but you know, family sitcoms or whatever. Love it. Great crossover, great mashup. It had to be on this list.
I'm telling you just how I feel. So wake up the members of my nation. It's your time to be. There's no chance unless you take one.
And number 5 is probably one of the saddest episodes of the entire series, Goodbye. Now, I watched this episode when it premiered and I was so excited, and after the episode ended, I was really sad. In this episode, basically the whole point of it is Carly's dad is gonna come and visit Carly and Spencer and pretty much the whole gang, but in the middle of the episode, basically Carly's getting excited for this dance, the father-daughter dance, and it's Carly's last year to attend because she's getting older, and there's like an age limit. And in the middle of the episode, unfortunately, Carly's dad couldn't make it. So Spencer wanted to take in and just kind of be the one to take Carly to the dance, but Spencer got really sick from Lubert. Yeah, we all hate Lubert. And so basically Carly's night was ruined until Gibby and Freddy were about to take Carly to the dance, until Carly's dad actually came from the door, which was honestly a really heartwarming scene. I was really sad and happy at the same time because it was just a crazy scene. You know, we've heard about this character for so long, but we've never got to see who this character actually is until now. Honestly, it was a really awesome episode. It was a really good finale, and looking at all the other Dan Schneider series, a lot of them really don't have an ending episode. Fortunately, iCarly actually had an ending episode, so it was really awesome to see it. They promoted it a lot. This is such an amazing episode, one of my favorites, and is number 5.
I'm telling you just how I feel. So wake up
number 4 is I Take On Dingo. This episode was an amazing one, to be honest. Really, really funny, really, really awesome. So in this episode, the Dingo Studios, yeah, I don't know why it's called that. Basically, now they are going to go to Dingo Studios to, of course, talk to them and make them stop stealing ideas from iCarly. But there were some rumors of the president of Dingo Studios head being in a freezer? I don't know why. I really don't know. Honestly, this is one of my favorite episodes because we got to see a lot of different dynamics, like Spencer and Freddy going into the chamber and seeing the head. And of course, the ending was great. Sam was probably my favorite character in this entire episode, just for hitting people with her amazing butter sock. And overall, a really funny episode. Actually, this is probably my favorite episode of the entire series, just because of the chamber scene. It was just so cool looking back at it when I was a kid. I was like, I really want to see it. And until, Spencer reveals the head, it kind of looked creepy, but now looking at it, it was just like, oh, it's fake. Is that just me? Anyway, this is a really solid episode and is definitely going to be number 4.
I'm telling you just how I feel. So wake up the members of my nation. It's your time to be. There's no chance unless you take one.
My final segment here in this awesome collab, number 3, iPie. You know how I said my favorite episode was I Take On Dingo? Well, forget that, because this is actually my favorite episode. In this episode, Carly, Sam, Freddy, and Spencer basically go to this pie shop, pretty much the best pie shop ever. It's Galini's pie shop, and Galini is actually in the hospital because he's getting old and he might actually die. And in the middle of the episode, we find out that he actually dies, and the store's gonna close down because there's no one who knows how to make the coconut cream pie. So, of course, them being pie lovers, they want to figure out how to get that pie recipe and get more pies. Now, Galini actually has a granddaughter named Trudy, which is, we don't talk about her. She's just a weird character and pretty much has there's no use of her in the story, I guess. I guess she's funny in ways, but at the end, they figure out that the recipes were actually inside the computer, like not even on the desktop. It was actually literally inside the hardware. Galini was an expert, and apparently all of the recipes are there, and they lived happily ever after. Honestly, this is my favorite episode for a couple of reasons. Spencer is probably the main character in this episode, if you really think about it. He's the driving motive, if that even makes sense, to get the pie recipes and to get everything going, So I really like Spencer. Spencer's actually my favorite character in the entire show, and just everything about this episode is really awesome. I mean, I really want to try coconut cream pie a lot. And I'll never be able to. But yeah, that's number 3, iPie.
I'm telling you just how I feel. So wake up the members of my nation. It's your time to be. There's no chance unless you take one.
In at number 2, very close to number 1, but number 2 is actually my favorite iCarly episode, and that is I Fight Shelby Marks. So, this is the other episode that stars Victoria Justice, but instead of playing Tori, she's playing like an MMA fighter, kind of like a Ronda Rousey type. And this episode is hilarious. I mean, hilarious. Obviously, Victoria Justice is great. She actually does seem intimidating at points, which is weird because Victoria Justice is like pretty. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh wow, okay, she is, whoa. I did not expect this out of Victoria Justice. You know that girl from Zoe 101 back in the day? Her and Megan are now dueling in the middle of a ring, and it's intense. Also, the actual fight is hilarious. To lead up to the fight is amazing. Overall, this is an iconic episode. Not even a classic, an iconic one. I just love the references that they throw towards fighting sports and all that kind of stuff. Again, this is an episode made for me. I'm very big on, UFC and wrestling, so this episode is made for me. And then I had 2 of my favorite actresses and the iCarly cast. And what else do you want? Alright, now before we get to number 1, we did want to throw out a few honorable mentions These are episodes that are so good, but they just weren't able to be on this list. And these go to I Get Pranky, a very hilarious episode, but one that just fell off. Almost got on the list. I Quit iCarly, a pretty iconic episode, not gonna lie, but so close to making the list. I Meet the First Lady, the episode with Michelle Obama, which is inspirational and just really impactful, which is a good turnaround. I Shock America, which is the one with Jimmy Fallon, which is another great episode. And The Pilot, a great setup for this webcam show and all the hijinks that are going to come from this show. Also, I gotta give The Pilot props because it is ahead of its time. They made boob jokes on a Nickelodeon sitcom in 2007. Boob jokes got the green light. That is an actual plot of the episode. Boobs. Let's go on to number one.
I'm telling you just how I feel. So wake up, the members of my nation. It's your time to be. There's no chance unless you take one.
And number one, I could see some of you disagreeing, but honestly, if we put our brains collectively together, I'm not going to add a picture for that because that is very graphic, then we both had to agree on this one. We wanted to choose the one that both of us like the most collectively. Not the ones that we like separately, but us two as a duo, which ones do we like the most? That's what we should have done on the top 10 best SpongeBob Season 1 episodes, Rushaan. Yeah, I don't like fun. We should have put SB129 ahead because all of us like that one. One person doesn't like fun. Anyways, so number one for us is going to be I Go to Japan. I could see some of you disagreeing with this one. It does have a few advantages. Obviously, it's a TV movie, so it has a lot more time to, tell a story, character development, and all that kind of stuff. But if we take this into account, this is the best iCarly episode. Maybe the most recognizable one also. It's just a fantastic episode. I mean, Mrs. Benson and Spencer meshed so well. I mean, so well. Perfectly. It was hilarious to see these two together. And I mean hilarious. These two got so much material out of each other. It was great. Also, we got that, not kidnapping, but that we're going to hold these three guys hostage. And that stereotypical yet hilarious fight between the Japanese duo, which is just amazing. It's so, I guess, cliche and stereotypical, but I always enjoy it, and I always respect iCarly for doing that. I will always respect iCarly for doing anything. It's just an iconic episode. I mean, iconic. There's so much more about this episode. Obviously, it's a TV movie, but in my money, this is the best iCarly episode. And for our money together, this is the best iCarly episode. But actually, no, it's not. Number 0, I Meet Fred. That's a lie. Alright, so that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I want to give a huge thank you to Rushaan for being a part of this collab. If you guys want to, go check out his channel. He does cartoon reviews. He does podcasts, which I am a co-host on. I am a co-host on his podcast. So if you guys want to go check that out, there is a link in the description to his channel. I really recommend you guys go check out at least a few of his videos, maybe even one of his videos, or maybe even all of his videos. So great editing, very well spoken. Thank you, Rushaan, for being in this video. And thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment down below. What's your favorite iCarly episode? What show do you want me to do a top 10 on next? I would really like it if you leave something down in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. And remember, the story is always right.